The Hollow Kingdom by Claire B. Dunkel. Part 1, Starlight, Chapter 2. Now, that's a funny thing, lying. If you notice, Em, most humans can't do without it. They consider it an essential component of, how should I call it, polite society. Kate felt a sting in his words and set her teeth. She wondered when this interminable journey would end. Humans lie to each other constantly. They mean to. They think it is best. They tell you what a clever child you are when they mean someone should muzzle you, and they tell one another how handsome they look when they think they look absurd. They believe they're doing the world a favor by lying. Why, take your sister as a case in point. I won't say a word, Kate promised herself enthusiastically, and Emily rushed to defend her sister against her newfound favorite. Kate doesn't lie, she said indignantly. Oh, doesn't she? Answered Marak, sounding much amused. Well, Em, I'm sure she doesn't lie often, but such is the fragile nature of humans that she simply couldn't help herself. Imagine, he lowered his voice dramatically, as she stood by the bonfire tonight, she saw outlandish and otherworldly sights, and when I came towards her to lift her onto this horse here, she just knew, that if she let me put her onto this horse, she'd gallop away beyond the world we know into some strange, shadowy underworld. His voice dropped down to a whisper. And not one of the mortals on this earth would ever see her again. Emily went off into gales of laughter. Kate felt a swift chill run through her. How could the stranger know what she had felt? She hadn't even known it herself, but it was exactly, down to every last detail. And so, continued Emily's storyteller cheerfully, what on earth could your sister say? Could she say, I think you're about to steal me for what awful ends I know not? No, she's a human. She fell back on the polite lie, and so she said, and here he took on a haughty tone, I prefer to walk. Kate forgot her promise to keep quiet. You must think that I am a perfect fool, she exclaimed. Oh no, the writer assured her. You are a woman of rare perception. Not one woman in 100, maybe 1,000, would have realized in time. I find myself wondering, he added thoughtfully, just how you managed it. Kate tried to puzzle out this strange speech, another riddle for her to solve. It sounded very important, but she was too tired to make any sense of it. If the walk continued much longer, she was afraid she would collapse. She felt as if she had never done anything else but stumble through the blackness. And here we are, concluded Marak. They came up a rise. The orchard trees loomed out at them. Gravel crunched underfoot, and in another minute there stood the lodge itself, solid and comforting, with golden light streaming out of all the downstairs windows. The rider swung down from the saddle and lifted Emily to the ground. Off you go, he told her. I stay here. But won't you come inside, Mr. Marak? Begged Emily. I know the aunts would love to meet you. Oh, I know them, he said carelessly. I remember when they first came here. A pretty young thing, the blonde one was, I assure you. But newly widowed. That was a real pity, he added feelingly. No, I'll come in another time. Goodbye, then, and thank you for the ride. Emily wrung his hand and dashed up the path. He turned to Kate, who stood hesitantly, almost too tired to walk any further. Now that they were back in the light again, she found his cloak and hood insulting. She could make nothing out about him, and he seemed to know everything about her. Kate, you look terrible, he said sincerely. You're completely exhausted. Well, you won tonight, and I'm not a good loser. I'm not used to it. But until next time. And he held out his 6-fingered hand. Kate shook her head and put her hands behind her back. She glared up at him, beside herself with indignation. She said firmly, I hate to appear rude. Yes, you do, don't you? He laughed. Oh, I know what's bothering you, he teased before she could run away in disgust. The cloak and hood. It's been on your nerves all evening. You've been imagining all sorts of horrors, I'd guess. This is just another way to goat me, Kate thought grimly. But he was absolutely right. Marak tugged back his hood and examined her stunned expression. He watched her cheeks grow pale, her lips bloodless. He grinned in delighted amusement. You imagined all sorts of horrors, but maybe not this one. And he swung back into the saddle and rode away.